5801 Farmgate Road. It's a small rental house where I spent the first 5 years of my life.
I can still remember a lot of things about my childhood in this house. One of my most vivid memories from those early years is playing in the sprinkler with my brother and sister on hot summer days. It's hard to describe the utter joy that I felt as I ran back and forth through the sprinkler, sometimes stopping halfway through to sit down on it just so I could get extra soaked. At that point in my early life, I think the sprinkler was probably the greatest thrill I had ever experienced. Then one day my dad decided to take us to a huge pool to get swimming lessons. I'll never forget how blown away I was by the size of the pool and by the height of the diving board, which was 20 feet high. It took every ounce of bravery within me just to climb the ladder. But once I finally jumped off and felt my stomach leap into my chest, I was a changed boy. After experiencing the thrill of the high dive, my dinky little sprinkler had lost its appeal. Then when I got a little older, my family took a trip to a water park, which opened my eyes to even greater pleasures. And like the high dive had previously done with my little sprinkler, the water park made every other pleasure I had ever experienced look like child's play in comparison. It was one fantastic slide and amazing thrill after another. During my childhood, nothing brought me more joy than the water park. And with this experience, my old sprinkler became nothing more than a distant memory. You see, as I grew older and experienced new thrills and pleasures, I left the childish things behind. By the time I got into high school and college, I couldn't imagine frolicking through a sprinkler and finding unbridled joy in it. I'd moved on. In many ways, this is what happens when we grow up spiritually as well. There's a popular misconception that spiritual growth means giving up pleasure and joy for a life of boredom, but that really couldn't be further from the truth. As C.S. Lewis once said, we were like ignorant children who wanted to keep making mud pies in a slum because we couldn't understand what was meant by a holiday at sea. We were far too easily pleased. See, growing up spiritually isn't about giving up happiness. It's about finding a brand new kind of happiness that makes everything we've ever experienced look and feel like child's play in comparison. The more we grow, the more we realize that the things that used to get us super excited are like dinky little sprinklers in comparison to the joy that we find in God. The truth is that in Christ there is unparalleled joy, and it's unparalleled because it's unending. See, one of the most sobering realities as we grow up is that everything in this world is transient. And no matter how good something is for a time, eventually it will come to an end and leave us looking for something else to fill its void. The best cooked meals will only keep us full for a short amount of time before our stomachs angrily remind us that they need another. Alcohol after the buzz will only leave us hungover and unsatisfied. Even the healthiest minds and bodies will age and decay. People will never be able to meet all of our expectations and needs, and even the most beautiful relationships will be interrupted by the grave. But while every pleasure this world has to offer is transient, God has no end. And the joy that we find in Him has no end either because it's connected to Him. Growing up spiritually is not so much about fasting from things that will bring us pleasure and joy. It's about feasting on the unparalleled joy we find in God. And that joy can't be taken away from us either. No matter what happens in this life, no matter how much we suffer, our joy will be secure because it's founded in the unmovable, unshakable character of God. So let's grow up. Let's stop finding joy in sprinklers and diving boards and start finding our happiness in Jesus Christ, who, for the joy that was set before Him, endured the cross and brought us back to the Father. He's the source of eternal joy. So let's embrace Him and enjoy Him forever.